Alleluia. 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 O root of Jesse's stem, sign of God's love for all his people, come to save us without delay. Alleluia. 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 The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. In the days of Herod, king of Judea, there was a priest named Zechariah of the priestly division of Abijah. His wife was from the daughters of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth. Both were righteous in the eyes of God, observing all the commandments and ordinances of the Lord blamelessly. But they had no child, because Elizabeth was barren, and both were advanced in years. Once, when he was serving as priest and his divisions turned before God, according to the practice of the priestly service, he was chosen by lot to enter the sanctuary of the Lord to burn incense. Then, when the whole assembly of the people was praying outside at the hour of the incense offering, the angel of the Lord appeared to him, standing at the right of the altar of incense. Zechariah was troubled by what he saw, and fear came upon him. But the angel said to him, "Do not be afraid, Zechariah, because your prayer has been heard. Your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son, and you shall name him John. And you will have joy and gladness, and many will rejoice at his birth, for he will be great in the sight of the Lord. He will drink neither wine nor strong drink. He will be filled with the Holy Spirit even from his mother's womb, and he will turn many of the children of Israel to the Lord their God. He will go before him in the spirit and power of Elijah to turn the hearts of fathers toward children, and the disobedient to the understanding of the righteous, to prepare a people fit for the Lord." Then Zechariah said to the angel, "How shall I know this? For I am an old man, and my wife is advanced in years." And the angel said to him in reply, "I am Gabriel, who stand before God. I was sent to speak to you and to announce to you this good news. But now you will be speechless and unable to talk until the day these things take place, because you did not believe my words, which will be fulfilled at their proper time." Meanwhile, the people were waiting for Zechariah and were amazed that he stayed so long in the sanctuary. But when he came out, he was unable to speak to them, and they realized that he had seen a vision in the sanctuary. He was gesturing to them, but remained mute. Then, when his days of ministry were completed, he went home. After this time, his wife Elizabeth conceived, and she went into seclusion for 5 months, saying, "So has the Lord done for me at a time when he has seen fit to take away my disgrace before others." The Gospel of the Lord. Just point out something about this gospel passage. You guys have heard me speak before, right? There's only one other time that the angel Gabriel appears in salvation history besides in the Gospel of Luke, and that is in the book of Daniel. The book of Daniel, again, is one of the most significant of the prophets because he gave a specific timeline about when the Messiah would come. All the other prophets talked about different aspects of his ministry, but only Daniel gave a timeline. It said it would be 70 weeks of years from the rebuilding of the walls of Jerusalem, which is basically the day of Jesus' birth. Everybody in the days of Jesus, they recognized that those 490 years of Daniel were running out, right? It was time. And that's why in the 1st and 2nd century, there were so many Jewish false messiahs, right? Because everybody knew about this prophecy of Daniel. It was also why King Herod, it's partly why he claimed to be the Messiah himself. He claimed to be the true king of Israel. That's why he tore down the temple and was rebuilding his own glorious temple, which became an ancient wonder of the world. That's why here in this gospel, when Zechariah questions the angel about what he has said, the angel simply responds by saying, I am Gabriel. Right? I'm the one who you have read about in the prophecy of Daniel, this 490 years or 70 weeks of years. Daniel also gave the prophecy about the political status of what would be happening in the Holy Land, right up until the time of the Messiah. This is where we get the prophecy about the beast that so many people talk about in the book of Revelation, the great beast from the sea. This is actually a reference to the book of Daniel. Daniel prophesied that there would be 4 beasts coming out of the sea. The sea represents basically pagan nations. When they would come to take over Israel, they would cross over the sea to get into the Holy Land. Daniel prophesied about 4 famous beasts. First, the lion, which represented Babylon. Then the bear, which represented Medo-Persia. Then a leopard, which represented Greece. And then finally, a 4th and undescribable beast, which represented the Roman Empire, especially in the days of St. John, as the Emperor Nero, right? All of these different connections. Now, what's also interesting here in the Gospel of Luke about this prophecy from Daniel, these 490 years, some scholars have pointed out that even the timeline in the beginning of Luke, right, it's based off of the number 490, right? If you presume that months are counted by 30 days, then you hear about a pregnancy of Zechariah and Elizabeth, who were 6 months before Mary, before she conceived, right? So 6 times 30 is 180, plus the 9 months of Jesus's conception. You end up at 450, and then later on in chapter 2 of the Gospel of Luke, 40 days after the birth of Jesus, he is presented in the temple, right? So a count of 490 days from the beginning of the Gospel of Luke, when the angel appears to Zechariah here, to the presentation of Jesus in the temple, right? When we read the Gospels carefully, you can start to see all of these different connections that come together as we read these passages. I'll just point out some of those to you today.